Don't Starve Together's newest update, Waterlogged, is out now in beta form, everyone. And with new biomes, mobs, foodies, and more to discover, it's a good thing we've already done so here with this video. But give it a watch to get an overview of the content when you get the chance. But don't forget about the tweaks made to our nautical circles as a whole either, as they certainly sweeten the deal, I think. But with so much packed into a relatively small update, perhaps it's best we do what we do best in making the content easier to swallow by breaking it down into its components, yes. And to start, we'll be tackling sea striders here and all their Jesus spider-like glory. So let's get to it. Well, after we actually find the new biome, of course. Called the Waterlogged Biome, a name that should totally not stick, but maybe that's just me. It truly looks like it prefers to generate in the shallower waters of the swell and rough oceans. And after 2 days with the content and many worlds generated, I think it's safe to say that that is indeed the case. This is the ocean we're talking about, however, so things might get wonky on you here and there. But with multiple waterlogged biomes spawning per world in mostly shallow oceans, I really don't see us having any trouble finding them at the end of the day, especially with how fast boats are nowadays. So set sail. And once you do, and thus enter the biome, be sure to be on the lookout for these puppies, sea strider nests. Typically found near the giant tree trunks and hanging towards the outskirts of the biome, actually. It looks like each nest can only hold a maximum of 3 striders, although striders themselves are not limited to spawning from nests alone, it seems. But more on that later. For now, know that sea striders are not just active the moment dusk hits like most other spiders in this game, and won't just take a little bit to come out of their nest come this time either. Instead, it would appear that striders are only active once a school of fish swims nearby to their nests. And this would explain why we can actually see them sometimes during the day. But if they do leave their nest to fish come dusk, they will remain out of them, of course. But if they do so during the day, we will typically just see them snatch a fish and return home almost immediately, unless they have been aggroed in some other fashion, of course. But that's some interesting behavior for spiders in this game, honestly, as we're just so darn used to disturbing nests by being near them and seeing spiders roam all night. But if there's no fish, there's no striders, so take advantage when you can, I guess. Well, unless you've pissed them off in some other way beforehand. And trust me, it's pretty easy to do. One of the more unconventional methods of doing so, however, is through ramming these great tree trunks with our boats, as doing so is going to disturb any nearby nests, thus calling down all the spiders that are resting within them. And if you think this is going to annoy them, you're right, it does, as sea striders will be automatically hostile to us if we do this, no matter what, or even how far we might be from them. Well, unless you're playing Weber, of course. Then you're okay to just ram these trees to your heart's desire, really, as you'll still call down the striders, of course, but they won't bother you, as you can see. But another way to potentially piss them off is to pick any nearby mossy vines for some figs. There needs to be a sea strider nest relatively close by for it to happen, mind you. However, these vines do disturb nests instantly, and may even disturb more than one too. So be careful about that. Do note though, just like all other spiders in this game, we can trap sea striders in traps, of course. So if you want some easier kills or just wish to transport them, then here's your answer to both. Once more though, Weber players will not have to worry about drawing any hostile aggro to themselves from these green things while picking any of these vines. So have at it. But man, Weber just keeps getting better, don't he? But the last way to actually draw hostile aggro should surprise no one. For you see, hitting sea strider nests is gonna friggin' call down sea striders. And who would've guessed that one? Have fun. But hold up, Beard. Are you telling us that Weber can't actually use his webby whistle to call down sea striders? Yes, I am, unfortunately. For whatever reason, it just doesn't work right now. However, I have got to imagine that this will eventually end up changing. So once it does, our interactions with these new arachnids are gonna get even better, I feel. For now, however, what else do they got going for them? Well, if not disturbed in any way, they're pretty docile creatures actually, who simply just roam far and fast looking to eat all types of fish every 20 to 30 seconds or so. The thing is, they're still spiders at heart, and will still aggro onto players in their proximity. So don't think you're out of the woods quite yet, especially when they can leap onto boats whenever they wish now and then. Now, they're also very horde-like, just like all other spiders, so be sure to be ready to face multiple at any given time when in this biome, of course. Thing is, however, they only have 200 health, deal 20 damage, and can even be killed before they even hop onto the boat for super easy kills, so they're not that bad at all. In fact, they feel very kiteable too, as they're just reskinned spiders. So much so that even their loot is the bloody same, but perhaps that will also change too, just in order to make them feel a bit more special, if you know what I mean. Because even down to their respawn timers, folks, things feel a bit too similar to normal spiders, especially when these guys are in their own biome on the water for Pete's sake. But perhaps that's just me. Still, note that they will respawn every 2 minutes or so at the end of the day. But here is something unique that does separate them from the rest of the pack. Their respawn timers on their own nests. For you see, sea strider nests do not have any tiers to them. So what you see is what you get. And if you destroy their nests, which is very easy as they only sit at 200 health mind you, the only way for the game to renew them is through a great tree trunk, as you can see. It will take the game roughly 3 days to respawn nests, and when it does, it doesn't put it in the same spot as before, and instead plops a cocoon randomly nearby, sometimes rather far from the tree too. So do with this information as you please. But to start to wrap up the day, let's focus on the relationship between these new spiders and our new spider boy, and what potential there might be there. As yes, Weber can indeed befriend sea striders all the same as the rest of the arachnids in this game, and yes, striders do already have their own switcherdoodles to boot. But with our new friends at hand, we can now have one of only a couple mobs out in the entire ocean that can even attempt any form of oceanic combat. And I can certainly see the appeal in keeping things preoccupied and not focus on us or our boats for sure. Bear in mind though, that striders are just normal spiders in terms of damage and health, so they're not going to be that special, unfortunately. What is interesting, though, is how sea striders intentionally ignore meat that is on the water, and I've even seen them ignore meat left on boats occasionally, too. So they've definitely got a leg up on all the other spiders with that one for sure. Be mindful, though, once they are indeed on land, all bets are off, and they will go after meat all the same as the rest, unfortunately. And while we're here, just one observation to share. Sea striders should not be a choice for combat on land. Again, they're just normal spiders, but green and lengthy. You have much better options available, and they do their best work at sea regardless. Or do they? Because here's the deal. I think people are expecting sea striders to outshine most options available to us for seafaring combat now that they're here in the game, but the truth is that they're very hit or miss. Mostly miss too. I mean, for narwhals here, sea striders can't even target them properly, because every time a narwhal dives, which happens very often, the striders lose aggro instantly. Using striders against the Melbatross sounds like a great idea, and could even help chase down the otherwise very annoying boss come the later stages of the fight. But since Melbatross hits for 150 damage and is a multi-target attacker, the striders just do not fare well at all against it, with their very low health in mind. The Rockjaw is an interesting one, as the striders do literally chase it down and keep its aggro, which is the highlight of this. But their slow attack speed usually means that they'll miss the window of opportunity to actually get worthwhile sustained damage. So you're honestly just left in a wild goose chase for them that you can just finish yourself way faster, if you know what I mean. But finally, an actual win for Sea Striders is how they fare against the Crab King here, as they fare very nicely. Very, very nicely, actually. As long as you are close enough to the fight to allow for the king to target you with his geyser attack, he will not freeze the spiders. And if he doesn't freeze the spiders, he can't do anything to the spiders at all. So after a little while, he's just gonna die no matter what practically. Oh yes, this might actually be one of the best, easiest new ways to actually do this boss fight. Enjoy it. But to truly wrap up for the day, here are a couple last notes. Sea striders do tend to get stuck sometimes, and I'm not entirely sure why. But just get moving far enough off screen, and they'll teleport to you just like all the other followers do, and be fixed right then and there. So there you go. I have noticed too, that getting sustained spider wars to happen with these dudes is rather difficult, as they both prefer to just eat fish, and not actually keep fighting what you want them to fight. But perhaps I was just being dumb at this point. But lastly, like most spiders, sea striders will sleep during the day if they cannot return to their nest for whatever reason, so do with that as you please. And there you have it, everyone. A much more focused look at Don't Starve Together's newest spider, the sea strider. Not only that though, we briefly explored their oceanic capabilities and found that perhaps they could still do with some love in that regard before the beta actually releases. Still, they're pretty neat, and I don't mind their addition to the game at all at the end of the day. But thanks for watching, folks. Well wishes to all, sea spiders for the win, and I'll see ya in the next one. Bye-bye.